Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Bookmas Day 15. Can you believe we are already on the last day of Bookmas? Because I can't, that is crazy, and I'm so proud that we made it here, let me just say. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in and watched my Bookmas videos and commented on my Bookmas videos. I love and appreciate you so much, and you truly make the holiday season so much more special for me. So thank you. And also don't worry, because I do in fact have plenty of content planned for the rest of December still. So we're not done yet. But for today's Bookmas video, the last day of Bookmas, I thought it would be so fitting to do our 2025 end of year book tag. So we're just gonna sit and yap about some of my favorite reads, some of my least favorite reads, my favorite characters, book quotes that I love, all kinds of things. And I'm really excited because I feel like a lot of the sit down videos that I've done, I've kind of talked about a lot of the same books, but I feel like for this video specifically, there's a lot of different books that I don't talk about quite as often. So very excited to get into it. So let's go ahead and start off with the first question, which is, what was your most disappointing read of the year? This one was honestly kind of hard for me to answer because I feel like I'm not very often disappointed in books. Like I pretty much enjoy everything that I read because I'm a mood reader, and so I'm very selective about what I actually do end up reading. But whenever I was going through my Goodreads, I was reminded of a book that I kind of have put out of my memory, and it is The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. All my books are in book stacks right now, and so I don't want to get any more out because I pulled out a bunch for a later question in this video. So I'll put up the specific editions that I have of the books on screen if it's not one that I'm physically holding up so you can see it. But this book I had such high expectations for. It had such a good premise, and it really just fell so flat for me. I was not expecting the romance in the book to be like dark romance vibes, and the male main character, the way that he treated the female, I just could not get behind. Like I just was not rooting for them at all because the things that he did, I'm like, I don't know, like that's just not hot to me. It's not doing it for me. It's not making me like you at all. And then something happens at the very end of the book that was just the cherry on top for me that really solidified my hatred in this character. So definitely I would nominate her as the winner for the most disappointing read of the year for me, just because again the premise of it was so good. I was highly anticipating it and it just was not it for me. Moving on, we have an underdog book. This is a book that I actually just recently read. It is The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden, and some of you may be thinking Frida McFadden is an underdog book because so many people love Frida McFadden, but for me personally it was definitely an underdog book. I did not have high expectations and I didn't really expect to like it because I think it was the end of last year I read The Housemaid and was very disappointed into it. It was the beginning of my first ever book slump, so I think maybe that was why I didn't enjoy it that much, but it was so disappointing that since then I have never read another Frida McFadden book. But I finally decided to give her another try because so many people love her and she has so many books that I was like, okay, maybe it was just like not the right book from her, you know, like maybe I would like one of her other books. And The Boyfriend is her 2024 new release, so I decided to listen to it on audiobook to give it a second try, and I was thoroughly surprised. I really liked it. Honestly, it was very fast-paced, very entertaining. I did not guess the plot at the end. I did have a couple of gripes and complaints about the way that things ended, but that is just like me being picky. Honestly, overall I was very surprised about how much I did like it, and honestly it has given me hope for future Frida McFadden books. I think I am going to give her books another try. The next question that we have is, what was an overhyped book that you read? And for this one I kind of was going back and forth between two, but I ultimately decided on The God of the Woods. This one I am so confused. This one I just do not understand the hype behind it. It just was so long and so slow and so not worth the payoff at the end. I mean, there was no payoff at the end in my humble opinion. I finished the book and the ending left me feeling like, what was that all for? That was all for nothing. So that one, yeah, I was highly disappointed by. It was marketed to me as a like mystery thriller. I felt like it was a literary fiction with a subplot of mystery. Nothing about that was thrilling to me really. And then I don't know, I don't like the way that it ended. Yeah, the more that I think about that book since I read it, I just really don't like it. I guess it was interesting enough, but I was really disappointed by that one. The next question that we have is a book that surprised you, and for this one I'm definitely gonna say The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This one I didn't have high expectations for because at the time I didn't think that I would like contemporary romance as much as like a rom-com, if that makes sense, and it was a very intimidating book for me because I just, again, thought I would go into it and be bored and not like the story, and this ended up being a 5-star read for me. The longer that I think about it, the more that I love the book and the more that I want to reread it and fully annotate it and try and just get deeper into the story. It's truly become one of my favorite romance books of all time, and that's like the true test, I feel like, is the longer that it goes, do you think about it more and more, or does it kind of drift into the back, you know? And that's definitely one of the books that I have noticed myself thinking about more and more, and I was very surprised by that. I just did not have high expectations. I don't know why, but yeah, I didn't expect to love it, especially not as much as I do. The next one is your favorite book couples of the year. This one is so fun. So I tried not to choose too many because obviously I could list off 10 million characters, but the ones that I wrote down are Rain and Aurea from The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I love them so much. I also have Selena Sardathian and blank. I will not be spoiling that for anybody because the amount of times I have to fight for my life to avoid spoilers online is ridiculous, so I refuse to be that person. After that, we have Harriet and Wynne from Happy Place. Forever in my heart. And then we have Hazel and Rory from The Fake Out, top tier, love them. Rory Miller, love that man. And then lastly, I have Clementine and Ewan from The 7-Year Slip. I love them so much. The next one that we have is your favorite main characters of the year. I feel like this kind of goes along with the book couples, but I chose 3 female main characters and then 3 male main characters. So for female main characters, my favorites of the year, some of my favorites of the year, Feyre, Selena, and Aurea, which is so funny because they're all fantasy romance female main characters, so you can tell what's my favorite. And then as far as male main characters, I chose Rhysand, Rain, and Kai. I feel like that is my holy trinity. God tier men. The next one we have is a new favorite author that you discovered this year. Again, for this one, I would definitely have to say Carissa Broadbent. She probably is like my favorite adult fantasy author right now. I love everything about her writing style. The way that she writes romance is just perfect for me, and I have no complaints. I will accept 0 criticism on The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It's perfection. The next question that we have is, what was the longest book that you read so far this year? And I think it's A Court of Silver Flames. That book is 784 pages long. And then along with that, we have what was the shortest book that you read this year, and it is a little Christmas novella called All by My Elf by Olivia Dade, and it was only 55 pages long. The jump between 55 pages to 784 is insane, but we love variety here, okay? After that, we have a book that you have not been able to stop thinking about. I couldn't choose one, okay? I couldn't choose one, so I tried to choose a couple off the top of my head that, like, when I hear this question, like, what are the first ones that just like pop into my brain? And so the first 3 that popped into my brain were Heartless Hunter, Funny Story, and then The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Those are just 3 of the many books that are constantly floating around in my brain and in my thoughts at any given point in time on any day. Okay, the next one, I cannot believe I'm saying on the internet, the cringiest book that you read this year. I would definitely have to say Morning Glory on the Milking Farm. Yeah. Yep. So still haven't finished that one, but I'm slowly making my way through, and you know, I never thought I would read a romance like this, but I feel like it's important for you to like try new things, you know, expand your horizon. And what better way to expand my horizon than reading a Minotaur romance? Anyway, I asked this in one of my other videos. Let me know if you would want to see a video where I read kind of crazy looking TikTok romance books, because there are definitely a couple other ones that I've seen on TikTok where I'm like, that looks like a wild ride. Let me know if that's something you would be interested in the future. Next, we have the lowest rated on Goodreads and then the highest rated, and do you agree? So the highest rated book on my Goodreads that I read this year is A Court of Mist and Fury. Do I agree? Absolutely. The lowest rated book on my shelf was All by My Elf. It is rated 2.62 and I rated it 3 stars, so I feel like I can say I agree with that because that's a pretty close rating, and it's like not not one of my favorite reads of the year. It was like cute and short and sweet, but because it was such a short little novella, it can't have that much substance in it. So I feel like that makes sense. The next one is your favorite book quotes of the year. I chose 2 different quotes. The first one is from The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which is the second book in the Nightborn duet. I don't personally think it spoils anything, but if you don't want to know anything about the book, just skip right past this part. I will try to have it time-stamped, but it shouldn't spoil anything. It's very much out of context, but this is one specific quote from that book that I genuinely think about every single day. Let me guard your body, your heart, your soul. Let me spend the rest of my pathetic life at your mercy. If I need to die, then let me do it by your hand, please. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, sir, and eat. The next quote that I have that I genuinely think about all of the time is one from Happy Place. I feel like it is the notorious Happy Place quote. It is, in every universe, it's you for me, even if it's not me for you. No words. I have no words. I would have to say those are 2 of my favorite quotes that just hit me so deeply and I think about all the time and I just want to reread over and over and over and over again. The next one is a book with the most unique concept you read this year. I feel like one of the books that had a really unique concept that I really enjoyed is actually a really cute little like a witchy rom-com called This Spells Love, and essentially she gets broken up with and she goes out drinking with her aunt and her best friend one night, and when they come home drunk they think it would be funny to put a hex on her ex, but they do it wrong, and so she ends up accidentally magically transporting herself to a parallel universe where her and her ex never got together, so that she then has to figure out how to get back. So I thought it was a really interesting concept and I really enjoyed that read. The next one is a book that you read this year that you would reread. 2 books that I really would like to reread next year are The 7-Year Slip, like I have been talking about, and then also Funny Story. I really want to reread Funny Story because when I read Funny Story, it was still a 5-star read, but I was on the verge of a book slump and also a depressive episode. So honestly, I feel like I would have appreciated it even more if I had read it when I was not on the verge of a book slump and a depressive episode. So yeah, I would really like to go through and reread it, and I also would like to allow myself to put annotations and little things in the book because I did that for Happy Place too, and it's so fun to look back through Happy Place and see my little thoughts and stuff like that while I was reading it. So I would love to have that for Funny Story as well. Next, we have favorite covers of the year, and I'm so excited for this one because I get to just show you some of the most pretty books that I bought this year. At least that's how I'm taking it. Books that I bought this year, some of the best covers, I guess. So I have a little stack next to me. I'm just gonna rapid fire through them and show you the covers. Obviously, the first one that we have here is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This is the Owl Crate Special Edition. Prized possession for sure. It is signed. It has a little author's note. Love it so much. The next one is this edition of Twilight, which is one that I recently got and I showed you guys in one of my other Bookmas videos. I just love the way that these covers really just bring together the books and the movies so perfectly. It's just my absolute favorite thing in the entire world right now. After that, I have this edition of Caught Up by Liz Tomford. I actually haven't read any of the Windy City series yet, but I thought this cover was so cute, and this edition specifically is what has finally convinced me to start the series. After that, I have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Even though I am still to this day very conflicted on the rating of this book, I can't deny that this is a gorgeous cover. I don't know what it is about it, but it just is perfect in my brain. Next, we have Heartless Hunter. Again, kind of like almost a more simple one, but every time that I look at this cover, I just think it is so cute. I love this cover. Then we have Dungeon Crawler Carl. This is a new cover that has just been rolled out for this series, and I, for some reason, love it. I love the colors. I love the design. I love the font. Like, literally everything about it I love so much, and I'm so excited to read this one and more specifically listen to it because everyone that I hear talk about this specifically recommends the audiobook, so I will be listening to the audiobook of this one. Next, we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is the illustrated anniversary edition. One of the most beautiful books I think I own. I love this one. Then I have this edition of Just for the Summer. I just think it's so cute, and the back has a quote from the book. I love this so much. Then I actually have 2 editions of The Spell Shop because I bought the the original edition, which alone is beautiful, stunning. But then I did also get, I think this is the Owl Crate edition, or is it Fairy Loot? It's Owl Crate. So then I also have the Owl Crate edition for the spell shop. I just think it is so cute, and I still have both because I can't decide which one I like better because they're really cute. So for now, I'm just gonna keep both while I have room for them. The next one that I have is this edition of The Prisoner's Throne. I don't know what it is about this cover, but something is just so satisfying to me. We then have Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is an edition that came out this year, and this is just gorgeous. Like, gorgeous girl. We then have Air. This is a new release that I just recently got. I think the original edition is blue, but I just love this edition because it's pink and purple. My weakness, for sure. And then the last two that we have are both Rebecca Ross books. We have A Fire Endless. This is the second book in a duology, actually, that I have not read yet, but I just think this UK version of the book is beautiful. And I specifically love, like, on the spine, it's so hard to tell on camera, but there's like little flecks, like gold flecks in it that make it look like embers, and I just think it's so beautiful. And then lastly, we have this edition of Ruthless Vows. I think that this is the Fairy Loot, yes. So this is the Fairy Loot edition of Ruthless Vows. I talk about this one all the time because it's genuinely one of my prized possessions. I love this book and the specific copy so much. That was kind of rapid fire, but those are some of my most beautiful favorite book editions that I have bought this year that I love so much. Lastly, we have your Goodreads reading goal reflection and 2025 reading goal. So this year my Goodreads goal was 50 books. I'm currently sitting at 91, which is insane. I will say I think like 15 of those were either manga or graphic novels. So obviously, you know, you read those a lot quicker, and like manga is a lot shorter and like not as many words. But I'm still in awe of how much I was able to read this year without feeling like I didn't feel like I was rushing through books, because at the end of the day, it's not going to kill me if I don't meet my Goodreads goal. Like, it's just a goal, you know? So yeah, I'm very, very surprised at how much I was able to read this year. It is the beginning of December, so I'm at 91. I don't know if I will hit 100 by the end of the year. That would be literally crazy, because I feel like, how is that possible? But then I guess when you break it down by month, it doesn't sound too crazy. It's just like as a whole, that sounds insane. I think that for my 2025 reading goal, I think I'll set it at 75 books maybe, because clearly I far surpassed 50 books, and at 75 books, that's only like I think it's like 6.25 books a month that you would need to read. So some months you could read more than 6, some months you could read just 6, and I feel like that's very doable, especially now that I'm like in a groove with audiobooks. I feel like I typically listen to like one audiobook a week, so it's like already 4 books just through audiobook without any, you know, like physical reading. So I feel like that's definitely doable. And then the last question is, what will you prioritize in your 2024 reading year? So some of the things that I wrote down is reading more of a variety of genres, like I have mentioned a couple times, cozy fantasy, cozy mystery, but also I would really like to read more contemporary romance and mystery thrillers. Those are just 2 genres I didn't read as much this year, but when I did read them, I really, really enjoyed them. So I would like to kind of balance out my reading romantasy and also contemporary romance and mystery thrillers and all that stuff that I just mentioned. The second thing is to read a little bit every single day over screen time. I feel like especially towards the end of this year, my screen time has been so bad, honestly, and I feel like I can definitely feel it reflecting on my mental health and even just the way that I feel physically, spending so much time just like staring at my screen and scrolling. I would really, really like to make it more of a habit to pick up my Kindle or pick up a book or listen to an audiobook and do something fun and productive, like a hobby or whatever, instead of going on my phone. And then lastly, my big goal for 2025 is to get through my physical TBR. I have a video coming out later this month about my physical TBR and where we started last year, where we are now, how many books are on my 2025 physical TBR, and I am appalled at the results. I buy way too many books and then I read them from my library, or I read them whatever, instead of reading the books that I own. So that is going to be a huge goal for 2025 for sure. But with that being said, that is the last question that I have for our 2025 2025 end of year book tag. Let me know, honestly, if you want. I'll have the questions in the description box so that you can answer them in the comments below. I would love to read through your answers for all of these. But yeah, that's all I have for today's Bookmas video, and it also brings us to the end of Bookmas. I hope you guys enjoyed all the Bookmas content this year. I loved making it for you guys, and don't worry, like I said, I have so much content still to come for the end of December. But that's all I have for today's video, so I will see you later this month for more bookish content. Bye!